and then one down in Virginia that Michigan was one of the schools that they kind of moved quickly on. So let's just start off first with a guy that I know you've talked to before, in Angelo Brizzi, whose recruitment, and I know we've talked about him on a prior podcast, but whose recruitment went from like nothing to a bunch of high majors virtually overnight.
Yeah, his recruitment did pick up. Now it's in the process of kind of slowing down a little bit. Angelo Brizzi is one of those kids that is really intriguing to me because he's a very talented kid, but again with everything that's going on with the coronavirus and not being able to get enough people in the seats to kind of scout him. He's kind of interesting in terms of where he sits in the recruiting rankings. I think he's one of those guys that could probably that probably would have benefited from summer ball. But again, I mean, the coaches, the collegiate programs are finding kids like Brizzi, so that's not really an issue. But he's a guy that Phil Martelli is really been on since his St. Joe's days. So he's a kid that has had a very strong relationship, very familiar with Martelli, and that's really one of the main reasons why they've been so strong with him. I mean, obviously, Juwan Howard's done a good job of talking to him and kind of showing where he would fit in the system and things like that. But again, the main relationship there is Martelli. But yeah, I mean, Brizzi, he released the top 8 last week, and Michigan made it, which isn't a surprise. In-state Virginia, might be a little bit of a surprise there because you've got a guy like Villanova's there too. I think Villanova and Michigan are probably one of the 1 and 2 right there in terms of where they stand. But I think it's interesting because every time I've tried to talk to the kid, he's just doesn't want to let people in on where he kind of thinks, or he's just that wide open. I ask him, hey, where does this list kind of stand in terms of where teams stack up? And he doesn't really have a leader right now. He doesn't really have teams that stick out to him. Obviously he has a final 8, but ones that he's not at least publicly willing to single out individual programs on that list. So yeah, he's not in a rush. He's kind of just waiting to see where things kind of go with visits and things like that, and kind of determining what the next steps for him is. But yeah, I mean, this every time I've tried to at least get some sort of update, I mean, it's been yeah, I don't really have any leaders, nothing really sticks out right now. So it's hard to really gauge where things stand, but at the end of the day, you can't really ignore the relationship he's built with Martelli.
Yeah, if I had to guess, I would think, it's just my opinion, I think Villanova is probably the team to beat for him.
I agree.
This guy wasn't on anyone's radar